In today's demo, we're going to look at how to write a while loop and a few different types of while loops that can be used. So I've already started by including a scanner because we're going to be doing a little bit of user input as well as we do this. The first type of while loop I'm going to talk about is one in which you might just use your general counter, so that we might want it to run a certain amount of times, but in order to keep track of that, we need a counter. So I'm going to create a variable called counter, and I'm going to set that equal to 0. And my while loop is just going to be while counter is, say, less than 10. And notice that, so that's my Boolean condition. So while this is true, this loop should execute. So every loop is going to have a bracket. Now, just like if statements, if the loop only includes one statement, it actually doesn't need the brackets, but we usually get in the habit of using brackets when possible. So I have my curly bracket to start the loop and my curly bracket to end the loop. So let's say we're going to keep a pretty simple loop here, but inside I'm going to say system.out.println, hello, and then I'm going to also put the counter in there so that we can see what number we're on, okay? And the most important thing when you're doing a while loop with a counter is we have to remember to update the counter. Because right now, if I were to run this, counter 0, so that would be true, and then this loop would continue to run forever and ever and ever because counter never becomes anything but 0. So inside the loop, I'm just going to say counter plus plus so that counter goes up by 1 each time. So I'm going to go ahead and run this so that we can see what happens. And you can see it says hello 0, hello 1, hello 2, all the way up to hello 9. And then once counter becomes 10, this condition is no longer true, and therefore it would skip and then be done with that loop and move on to the rest of the program. Okay, so I guess just to show that to you, we'll just put a done in there. So you can see that that done won't run until that loop is done executing. So when I run it again, I get hello 0 through 9, and then finally this line of code here will run after that loop condition becomes false and it exits out of the loop. Another way to write a while loop would be to have a while loop in which we might be taking in user input, and the loop would execute until, say, the user inputs a certain value. So let's, for example, say we're going to generate a secret number. So int secret is going to be cast that, and then we're going to say a math.random, and we're just going to keep this pretty simple. We're only going to do numbers 1 through 5. And we're going to say while, we need to also declare we're going to declare something called guess, and we're going to set that equal to 0. So we're going to say while guess is not equal to secret, we're going to have this run, and we're going to just say, we're going to just put in here a prompt to ask the user to enter in something. So guess my number, 1 to 5. So we're going to say that guess is equal to in.nextInt. That was the scanner that I had created before I'd even started. And then a couple different ways we can write this. We can just, at the end of this loop, we could say, you guessed it. And basically what's going to happen is it's not going to reach you guessed it until guess is equal to secret. So if I go ahead and run this, so let's kind of go back through. So I generated a secret number, a random number from 1 to 5. I started out guess as being 0, and that's just going to make sure that the loop actually runs at least once, because the secret number is something from 1 to 5, and guess is 0. So we know that they won't be equal to start. And then we're actually going to ask the user to put the guess in. And so this loop might run once, it might run 5 times. It just depends on how many times it takes the user to guess the number. So if I run this one, guess my number 1 to 5. So if I put in a 1, obviously 1 probably wasn't it, because it re-prompted me to guess again. And I'm going to keep going until, in that case, it took me all the guesses. And once I reached 5, I got it. So just to try it again, hopefully my random number won't be 5 this time. I'll just start. And once again, I got 5 again. Are you kidding me? We got to try this one more time, because I can't get 5 every single time. And so in that one, the secret number happened to be 2, and it only ran then twice. So there we go. I'm sorry, it took a little bit longer than I hoped, but that loop is only going to run as long as that condition's not true. So it's going to depend. If I guess the number right away, it ends quickly. If it takes me a while to guess the number, it goes a little bit longer. So those are kind of our 2 different types of loops. A really common one that is used is that you might ask the user if they want to play again. So you'll have a while loop that goes while they decide not to, while they're answering yes to play again, you're going to keep going. So if you think the sense of a game where you can play the game over again, that whole game code would be in that while loop to say, okay, execute all this code. And then at the end, it says, do you want to do it again? And you say yes. And then it would go back up. And then if you said no, it would end. So those are just your 2 kind of basic forms of while loops, one with the counter, and then one where maybe the user's kind of triggering that loop to end.